Let me chat with Brian to verify.
We'll just pause for a minute.
Yes, we should be good.
See, we're good to go. I will now call this Committee of Adjustment meeting to order. The land acknowledgement statement. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge with respect the history and living culture of Yenoshebek, the people of the three fires known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi Nation, who have inhabited this land from time immemorial. We recognize that these lands are the territories of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, collectively known as the Saugeen Ojibwa Nation. They keep to live in respect and peace and show respect to the first peoples who inhabited these lands and waters. Approval of the agenda, additions to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? If none, I look for a recommendation that the agenda be approved as presented. Look for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Member Ladresse, seconded by Mayor Carlton. All those in favor? It's carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Minutes of the previous meeting. The minutes from February 17th, 2026 meeting is included in the agenda package. I'd ask for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Mayor Carlton, seconded by Member Ladresse. Are there any discussion? All those in favor? New business. 2026 Ontario Association of Committee of Adjustments Conference. The information package for the 2026 conference is included in the agenda. Is anyone interested in attending? Mayor Carlton?
I am still thinking about it because I come back from a conference on the Saturday, and that would be kind of a fast turnaround to head for Ottawa again. So I am still thinking about that one.
And I think, Michael, for committee members are entitled to go to one conference a year, as I understand it.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. I'm interested, but the timing doesn't suit for me this year.
Okay.
Same here. Thank you for the offer, though.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll leave that with Michael and Mayor Carlton about confirmation attendance. Applications before us, 6.2.1 DEV 2026-016 consent application B02 3 4 5 Kinsdale Investment Limited. This is a meeting of the Committee of Adjustment to consider the application for consent, and consent is in plural, for Kinsdale Investment Limited under Section 51 of the Planning Act. Mr. Secretary, please go ahead with your review.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There have been no requests for deferral or withdrawal of the application. Notice of this application, in accordance with Ontario Regulation 197-96, made under the Planning Act, was given on January 29th, 2026 by mail to all property owners within 60 meters, which is subject to the application, and to all required agencies. Notice was also posted on the property and on the township's website. For any public attending, if you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment, you must make a written request to the Secretary Treasurer of the committee. Please also note that only a specified person or public body as defined under the Ontario Planning Act may submit an appeal to the Ontario Lands Tribunal regarding this application.
Okay. I will now read the recommendation. It has been demonstrated that applications B2, 3, 4, and 5 for land is described as Sarawak Concession 2, part lots 13 and 14 Our registered plan 16R4839 parts 1 and 3 is consistent with the provincial planning statement 2024, conforms with the County of Grey official plan, and complies with the Township of Georgian Bluffs zoning bylaw 2020-020. Therefore, it is recommended the application be approved subject to the following conditions being imposed: that a reference plan be completed and a copy filed with the municipal clerk, or an exemption from the reference plan be received from the Land Registry Office, that pursuant to section 5342 of the Planning Act, that a certificate of consent be affixed to the deed within 2 years of giving a notice of decision as specified in the Planning Act at the time of the deed, that the applicant pays the applicable consent certification fee and the time of certification of the deed. 4, that the applicant pays 5% cash in lieu in parking in parkland in accordance with the Planning Act. 5, that the Township of Georgian Bluffs approve a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the subject lands to rural RU, including a site-specific provision to recognize the reduced lot frontage for the proposed severed parcels. A holding provision shall be applied to approximately half of the retained parcel to ensure that an archaeological assessment is completed to the satisfaction of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, SON, prior to any future development. Staff further note that the holding provision on the severed parcels will also require improvements to the golf course road to accommodate the anticipated increase in vehicular traffic, to allow staff to work with the applicant to secure the necessary lands for the proposed cul-de-sac. 6, that the applicant be required to implement all recommendations outlined in the hydrogeological study prepared by GEI Consultants Canada, dated November 29, 2024, including a drilling of a test well to confirm that the proposed development complies with the MOECP D5-5 guidelines. Could the planner give us a summary of the planning report regarding this file?
Thank you, and through you, the chair. So the purpose of applications B02, 3, 4, and 5-26 is to sever 4 vacant residential lots, so rural brackets residential, with an area of approximately 0.8 hectares, and retain the existing 74.64 hectares of vacant farmland. Notice of complete application and notice of public hearing was circulated on January 29th, 2026 to various agencies for review. The following comments were received. So GEI provided comments dated January 25th, 2026, noting that the property located at the applicable ARN is not within the drainage area of the municipal drain, and as such, we have no further concerns. Grey County provided comments dated March 3rd, 2026, and the key takeaway from their comments was the staff are concerned that the proposed residential lots do not have sufficient potable water supply. On-site investigations were recommended that the hydrological study and water is unclear as to why, and they were unclear to why a test well has not been drilled to date. This should be undertaken prior to provisional consent to determine the proposal meets the D5-5 guidelines and conforms to the County of Grey's lot creation and servicing policies and is consistent with the PPS. So I just want to take a moment and pause on that one. So staff acknowledged that the applicants did provide a servicing feasibility study prepared by GEI in 2025. Staff acknowledged that based on the study conducted, it has been determined that the lots will require a cistern to ensure adequate water flow and or supply at times of peak consumption. As a result, staff are not convinced that the study on its own provides adequate assurance that water supply can be provided. Accordingly, as noted in the staff report and through condition 6, it is included within the staff recommendation report that the condition be implemented to ensure that the proposed development complies with the MOECP D-5-5 guidelines, as noted in the study prepared by GEI, along with the request from the County of Grey staff to drill test wells to determine if the water supply can be provided. Through the implementation of condition 6, staff would have no concerns, as these lots would only then be created once it's been confirmed that adequate water supply can be provided, and therefore that it complies with the MOECP D-5-5 guidelines. I also want to stress the importance of the use of the terminology discourage versus prohibit. The use of cisterns within the County of Gray official plan policy states that it is important to note the difference, as is the township staff's perspective that the utilization of cisterns should be okay, as GEI confirms that adequate water supply can be provided, and the use of the word prohibit versus discourage is a key difference here. So the county is utilizing the word discourage. That said, the consultant has gone out, retained GEI to ensure that there would be adequate water supply once the applicable tests have been conducted as required to meet MOECP D5 guidelines. So staff are of the opinion that once those tests have confirmed that water supply can be provided to those sites, that it would maintain the intent of the PPS 2024 while not disregarding the County of Gray's official plan. I also want to note that Gray Sawmill Conservation Authority provided comments dated February 26, 2026, and they note that they have reviewed the proposed lot creation with the 4 new lots. The lots are not located within the regulated area on the subject property. They do note that the lots are outside of the natural hazards area subject to the property, and GSCA is in the opinion that the proposal is consistent with Chapter 5 of the PPS. GSCA does note that there appears to be drainage issues on the property, although the GSCA does not regulate drainage concerns. They just want to suggest that a grading and drainage plan be completed prior to the development of the new lots. Staff do note that lot grading and drainage studies are completed at the building permit phase and will ensure that lot grading and drainage implications are mitigated. They also do note that the property is located within an area subject to the Source Water Protection Plan, just for committee's reference. And again, notice of the complete application and public hearing is also circulated to members of the public in accordance with the requirements of the Act, the Planning Act. As of the report submission, no comments were received from members of the public pertaining to the applications. Those are the extent of the comments received thus far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now call upon the applicant to provide comments. Please state your first name, last name for the record to begin.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Ron Davidson, and I am a planning consultant, and I filed the applications on behalf of the owners. Not sure if it doesn't appear like they're on the line with us tonight. There's the Ed, Brandon, and Kevin O'Brien, 3 brothers who are builders, and they bought this property some time ago. Also with us is the engineer from GEI, who's done a lot of the heavy lifting on this project so far. Tyler is, you can see his name on the screen there. I was originally just going to have Tyler on the line to answer questions and not be part of this initial presentation, but I think I'm going to put you on the spot, Tyler, in about a minute here and ask you to speak to the water issue now, since it may come up. Tyler has also done work on this project with regard to stormwater management, septic suitability, and the idea of reconstructing the road. I don't have a whole lot to say at this point. I'll be probably 1 more minute. The proposal does conform with the County of Gray official plan in terms of lot density. It conforms with the County of Gray official plan in terms of the frontage to depth ratio. And in fact, it appears to meet all the consent policies of the official plan. Yeah, the policy does talk about not preferring or to turn that around. It discourages the use of cisterns, but it doesn't outright prohibit them. And I am aware that this is occurring in other places in Gray County as well. There's a lot of work that went into this project. We've been having discussions. I've been having discussions with the township for about 3 or 4 years when your previous planner was working there, but we didn't get serious about it until about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. We started by meeting on site with planning staff and your public works, I think it's public works director, a while back. talked about what needed to be conducted in terms of studies and what the township was looking for. And there's been follow-up discussions since then. Like I said, Tyler's been handling a lot of this because there's a lot of engineering that went into this. The last thing I'll say is Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, I've been consulting with them as well. We're hoping that the archaeological assessment would only be required for the 4 lots that are being severed off, but Saugeen Ojibwe Nation wants to see the assessment apply to not only the 4 lots, but about 50% of the property, which is considerable. Nevertheless, the O'Brien brothers have agreed to it. We've got an archaeologist lined up for spring if it ever arrives, and that study will be conducted. As you heard, this does require a zoning bylaw amendments, and it is being discussed at a public meeting in front of council tomorrow night. That's all I'm going to say right now. I'm sure there'll be some questions. And like I said, I think Tyler's going to speak to the issue of water. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Now, are you going to ask Tyler to speak as part of the applicant on this before I move to the public?
Yes, he's part of my our presentation.
Okay.
Thanks.
Tyler?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and honorable members. I really appreciate it, Mr. Davidson, for passing this one along. I just wanted to point out the RU designation for this lot in particular. It adds unique challenges when we come to servicing in regards to the 10% lot coverage. So a 2-acre lot that we're proposing that could equal 8,000 square foot house. So although that's not really what I would consider recommended or feasible, it is a potential that you could put up a huge house there. So again, when it comes to a D55 study in particular, the normal assumption is a 4-bedroom house plus 1. So again, you'd be pulling in 3.75 liters per person. And again, we'd be basing that on 5 people. With these larger estate lots is what I would call them. There is a potential to put in a lot more fixtures and people. And in that regard, we felt that it was easier to actually say, okay, let's get the building plan and we could tailor the D55 study along with the stormwater management report to the building specific. Again, to say that, to imply that a larger build would be going on some of the other lots, excuse me, wouldn't seem fair if somebody was just putting up a 2,000 square foot home. Hopefully that addresses some of your concerns. Again, when it comes to a cistern, I believe there's communication back through the township back in the day, but we'll defer that to the council's discussion. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. I now call upon members of the public who may wish to make a comment on this application. Please state your first and last name for the record prior to beginning. Are there any members of the public? Seeing none, are there any points raised by the planner, the applicant, or the public that the committee wishes to respond to? Michelle?
I don't really have any concerns. I did have a couple of questions, but between the agent and the planner on file, like everything's been answered and the condition is in place. I think the water issue can be addressed through the condition. Thank you.
Mayor Carlton?
Thank you. I guess my question would be, is this the maximum amount of development that's going to occur there that would be on private services? Or is there going to be further development that's maybe going to put more load onto what little water is available there?
Mr. Davidson?
Yeah, no, this is it. The County of Grey official plan allows for 3 lots to be severed off from an original 100-acre parcel. So the most northerly 3 lots are being severed off from an original 100-acre parcel, and that's it. And the most southerly of the 4 lots that's being severed, it's being removed from a different lot and concession. And that represents the 4th parcel. So there's no additional severances possible under the current policies of the official plan. Now, it might be wishful thinking, but I know, and I'm sure the township planners will agree with me. At some point, we're all hoping that water and sewer go by the door. And it's not, I'm not trying to be funny. There is discussions that at some point this part of the township will be serviced. So it's hard to say in 10, 15, 20 years whether or not there'll be more lots. But for now, no more lots. And if development ever did occur in 10, 15, 20 years, it would have to be fully serviced.
Thank you. I do have a series of questions. First one I'll start with is, you've asked for the lot's frontage to be reduced in size. Given the size of the properties, why is it not possible to meet the minimum lot frontage required?
Okay, so thanks, Mr. Chair. In my mind, the lot frontage requirement of 100 meters in the rural area, again, it's just my opinion, it's an arbitrary number that was chosen. I mean, some municipalities have 80, some have 90, some have 100. And the official plan doesn't drive that. What the official plan does say, though, is that we have to have we don't want to have long, skinny lots. So we have to adhere to a frontage to depth ratio that doesn't exceed 1:3. So you couldn't have a lot that's 20 meters wide and 400 meters deep. So what we've come up with is our 4 lots that are exactly at that 1:3 ratio. You're probably wondering, and maybe this, Mr. Glenn, maybe this answers your question better. Why? The wider we make these lots, the longer that road has to be extended, and the cost of the project goes up considerably. So we're just trying to make it a viable project by following the 1:3 ratio. And to be frank, I don't see there being any benefit to anybody by making the lots any wider and extending the road any longer.
Well, it is a municipal road that goes down that area that you're going to be extending and upgrading anyway, right?
Yeah, but nobody else would be able to would use that road.
Well, it's a municipal road allowance.
Yeah, but the lands to the north, like I think you're not going to see development along the golf course. Like I don't think you're going to be seeing any more lot creation, is my point.
Okay. I do have questions for the engineer on the site servicing. I read the report and maybe I missed it, but there was a test well dug. What was the yield on a per liter basis per minute out of that test well?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to just premise my expertise on this. The author of the hydrological report was a member of our staff, so that wasn't me in general. I did put that one together and packaged it into the feasibility study. So it was authored by somebody else, just to make sure everybody knows that. But that test well was actually completed by the owners. They came back with information from the well drillers, but we never received a paper copy on what the drill volumes technically were. Again, with a D55 study, it has to deal with the drawdown. So they gave us a preliminary quantity, which doesn't equate to much. So in other words, at the beginning, you can pump a lot, but from the study's point of view is we want to see hourly tests to say if that water quality is still there. And with that discussion in mind, the well driller basically came back and said, we don't have adequate water at this time. And then the discussion of cisterns came onto the block. So again, the hydrological report was already completed. We had a good assumption of what this the drilled well was going to produce, and it was what we expected. But then to complete the whole D55 study, that was never completed at this time.
Okay. So this is a question for our planners, and I'm going to condition 5 that's in the recommendation. And the first part of that, we're rezoning the property from rural to a site-specific provision to recognize the reduced lot frontages, but are we not also attaching an H symbol to those lots? Ben?
Thank you, and through you, the chair. So we are attaching the H for a variety of reasons here. So one of those being enhancing Golf Course Road along the proposed created lots, as well as to work with the applicant to obtain the necessary lands to facilitate that cul-de-sac. Again, as Ron Davidson noted, we also are putting the holding provision to ensure that the archaeological assessment is completed. And with regards to the water, however, we did note that there, in a condition of the report, that I believe it was condition 7, that the applicant be required to fulfill the conditions as outlined, or the recommendations as outlined in the servicing feasibility study prepared by GEI to ensure that adequate water supply can be provided. So we're aiming to and capture those concerns through that condition.
So I don't see in condition 5 that an H symbol is attached to the rezoning of the 4 lots. I do see a holding symbol is attached to half of the retained parcel. So that's not there. I don't see a development agreement being required for the development of the road. I also don't see a consent that's required for the dedication of lands for the cul-de-sac. So for those reasons, I'm going to ask the committee to defer this application until such time. And I also will make one final comment on site servicing. I'm very concerned that you're asking us to approve 4 lots that don't have any record of water quantity or quality going in. And we already know in this area that there are other lots created that do not have water, and discourage the use of cisterns is a term that's used. And I'm not sure that it's good plan to create 4 lots that are going to be dependent upon cisterns for water, because in the long term, those people will be at the municipality's door saying we want water. And so for those reasons, I'm going to be asking the application to be deferred for these reasons, and for these reasons to be identified further in any subsequent report. So given that I've read the recommendation, I'm going to move, I can't move a motion, but that's where my position. Mayor Carlton?
I would so move that this be deferred.
Do I have a seconder? Second by member Ladresse. I will now call the vote. If there's no further discussion by the committee, all those in favor of the motion to defer? The motion is carried. Thank you. This public hearing is now adjourned at 5:28.
Mr. Glenn, do I have an opportunity just to add a point of clarification for you?
Sure.
So just regarding, I think it was your last issue there, I could have my numbers wrong, with regard to the land dedication to the township. Yeah, there's no secret, we're giving that up. We've made that very clear. That doesn't, as a planner, fellow planner, or former planner, you're aware, that doesn't require an actual consent application. That's just a condition of severance.
But that's not even part of the conditions that are imposed as part of this application going forward.
Yeah, no, I get that. And for the record, we agree. Go ahead and put it in as a condition.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Davidson and Mr. Janicki, is it, or Janicki? Janicki?
Yonke.
Okay. Sorry about that pronunciation.
No, I get it all the time. I thank you for your time.
Moving on to application 6.2.2, DEV 2026-017, consent application B0626, 1,190,905 Ontario Limited. This is a meeting of the Committee of Adjustment to consider an application for consent for 1,000,190,905 Ontario Limited under Section 51 of the Planning Act. Mr. Secretary, please go ahead with your review. Is that you, Michael, or is that Ben?
Sorry, that's me. I had my microphone muted. So there have been no request for deferral or withdrawal of the application. Notice of this application in accordance with Ontario Regulation 197-96 made under the Planning Act was given on February 6, 2026 by mail to all property owners within 60 meters of the property, which is subject to this application, and to all required agencies. Notice was also posted on the property and on the township's website. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment, you must make a written request to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee, and only a specified person or public body as defined under the Ontario Planning Act may submit an appeal to the Ontario Lands Tribunal regarding the application.
Thank you, Michael and Secretary Treasurer. I will now read the recommendation. It has been demonstrated that application B0626 for the lands described as Concession 1, Part Lot 11, West Part Lot 10, Sarawak, is consistent with the Provincial Planning Statement 2024, the Niagara Escarpment Plan, and conforms to the County of Grey Official Plan and complies with Georgian Bluffs zoning bylaw. It is recommended the application be approved subject to the following conditions: that a reference plan be completed and a copy filed with the municipal clerk, or an exemption from the reference plan be received from the Land Registry Office. The reference plan should conform substantially to the Schedule A filed with the application for consent. That pursuant to Section 5342 of the Planning Act, the certificate of consent be affixed to the deed within 2 years of giving of notice of decision. Note: Section 5343 of the Planning Act requires that the transaction approved by this consent must be carried out within 2 years of the issuance of the certificate, i.e. stamping of the deed. 3, that the owners pay the applicable consent certificate fee at the time of the certification of the deed. 4, that the owner obtains approval from the Niagara Escarpment Commission. Could the planner give us a summary of the planning report regarding this file? Is that Michael or Ben?
I'll take that
That's
one.
been
Okay.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, and through the chair. So the purpose of application B-06-26 is to create a utility easement over the subject lands in favor of the neighboring property municipally addressed as 258561 Grey Road 17. The subject lands are located within the Niagara Escarpment Commission or Niagara Escarpment Plan area, as noted in the conditions. Planning staff note that the matter is being brought back before the Committee of Adjustment tonight because the previous consent application, which was B-10-23, has since lapsed. Therefore, the consent must be reconsidered by the Committee of Adjustment, and that's why it's before you guys here tonight. Notice of the complete application and notice of the public hearing was circulated on February 6th of 2026 to various agencies for review. The following comments have been received to date. GEI Canada provided comments dated February 6, 2026, noting that the property is not within the drainage area of a municipal drain, and as such, they have no further comments. Grey Stauble Risk Management Office, so the RMO, provided comments dated February 6, 2026, noting that the property is located within a vulnerable source protection area where fuel storage of greater than 25,000 liters is considered a threat under the Clean Water Act. However, the application for a utility easement on the property does not present any potential source water threats, so therefore they would not be issuing a Section 59 screening notice. We also received comments from the County of Grey pertaining to this application on February 24th, 2026, noting that provided positive comments are received from the Conservation Authority regarding the potential hazard lands, county planning staff have no concerns with the application. And Grey Stauble Conservation Authority provided comments dated February 25th, 2026, noting that GSCA generally has no objections to the proposed consent/easement application. And our Township Operations Department as well provided comments dated February 6, 2026, noting no comments from their department. The notice of the complete application and public hearing was also circulated to members of the public in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. As of the report submission deadline, no comments have been received from members of the public in support or in opposition to this application. Those are the extent of the comments received thus far. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. I'll now call upon the applicant to provide comments, please state your first and last name for the record prior to beginning. Is the applicant with us this evening? Seeing that the applicant is not, I now call upon the member of the public who may wish to make a comment on the application. Please state your first and last name for the record prior to beginning. Do we have any members of the public with us this evening? Seeing no members of the public. Are there any points raised by the planner, the applicant, well, by the planner, that the committee wish to respond to? Seeing no further discussion, I'll look for a mover and a seconder for the recommendation. Moved by member Ladresse, seconded by Mayor Carleton. All those in favor? The application is approved. Thank you. This public hearing is now adjourned at 5:36. Moving on to item 6.2.3 on the agenda, development 2026-019, a minor variance application A0126. This is a meeting of the Committee of Adjustment to consider the application for a minor variance of Michael Croft and Janine Croft under Section 45 of the Planning Act. Mr. Secretary Treasurer, please go ahead with your review.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, Mr. Chair.
You got
I
no
am
place
myself
there,
there.
Carleton.
My apologies. There have been no requests for deferral or withdrawal of the application. Notice of this application in accordance with Ontario Regulation 19796 made under the Planning Act was given on February 18th of this year by mail to all property owners within 60 meters of the property, and notice was also posted on the township's website. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment, you must make a written request to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee, and only a specified person or public body as defined under the Ontario Planning Act may submit an appeal to the Ontario Lands Tribunal regarding this application.
Thank you very much, Michael. I'll now read the recommendation. It's been demonstrated that application A0126 for Michael Croft and Janine Croft has satisfied Section 45(1) of the Planning Act and has demonstrated that the application is minor in nature, appropriate or desirable use of the land, buildings, or structures, maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan, and maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. Therefore, it is recommended that minor variance application 0126 be approved, subject to the following conditions being imposed: that the extent of the variance be limited to that shown on the sketch attached to the notice of decision, and that failure to comply with and maintain the condition of the committee shall render the approval null and void. I'm going to ask for a mover and a seconder. Moved by member Ladresse, seconded by Mayor Carleton. Could the planner please give us a summary of the planning report on this file?
Thank you, and through you, the chair. So the purpose of application A-01-26 is to seek relief from Section 8, Table 8.2 of the Township of Georgian Bluffs Zoning Bylaw 2020-020, which requires the interior side yard setback of 10 meters for residential uses in the agricultural zone. The applicants are seeking a variance of 2 meters to the side yard setback, reducing the setback to 8 meters to allow for the construction of a proposed residential addition to the existing home on the subject property. Notice of the complete application and notice of the public hearing was circulated on February 18th, 2026 to various agencies for review. The following comments have been received. So Grey County Planning and Development Services provided comments dated February 26, 2026, noting that the county staff have no concerns pertaining to the application so long as it's set back 23 meters from the center line of the county roadway. In this case, it is set back behind the existing dwelling on the home, so township staff have no concerns with regards to that setback requirement. Grace Auble Conservation Authority provided comments dated February 25th, 2026, noting that the Grace Auble Conservation Authority has no objection to the proposed minor variance application. If approved, a permit is not required from their office pertaining to the proposed addition of the existing dwelling. GEI Canada provided comments dated February 18th, 2026, noting that the property is not within the drainage area of a municipal drain, and therefore they do not have further comments for this property regarding the Drainage Act and municipal drains. The Grey Sauble Conservation Authority Risk Management Office provided comments dated February 18th, 2026, noting that the property falls outside of the vulnerable source protection area where policies under the local source protection plan apply. Therefore, they have no comments on this application. The Township of Georgian Bluffs Operations Department additionally provided comments dated February 18th, 2026, noting no comments from their department. Community engagement included a notice sign being placed on the property advising that a committee of adjustment application has been received. Notice of the application was mailed to all property owners within 60 meters of the subject property, and this report was posted on the township's website and with the agenda in advance of the committee of adjustment meeting. At the time of writing this report, no comments have been received from members of the public pertaining to this minor variance application A-01-26, and therefore it has been demonstrated that A01-26 for Kraut has satisfied section 45 in brackets 1 of the Planning Act and has demonstrated that the application is 1, minor in nature, 2, that it is appropriate or desirable use of the land, building, or structure, 3, maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan, and 4, maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. Therefore, it is recommended that minor variance application A-01-26 be approved. Thank you.
Thank you to the planner and Ben. I now call upon the applicant to provide comments. Please state your first and last name for the record prior to beginning. We have the applicant with us this evening. Don't believe.
Yeah, I'm here on their behalf, the homeowner's behalf. I have nothing further to add, really.
Oh, just before you begin, get your name for the record.
Oh, sorry, Aiden Walsh.
Okay, thanks, Aiden. So you have nothing further to add as part of the record. Okay, thank you very much. There was no members of the public registered to provide comment. I now call upon the members of the public who may wish to make comment on this application. Please state your first and last name for the record prior to beginning. Do we have any members of the public with us this evening? It doesn't appear that we do. Are there any points raised by the planner, applicant, or the public the commission wishes to respond to? So I have one question through to the planner, and it's based on the recommendation. So we're recommending the minor variance be reduced from 10 meters to 8 meters, but we've also established a condition under number 1, which is establishing a refined building envelope pertaining to that minor variance. Is that correct, Ben?
Through the condition noted in the minor variance, it's essentially delineating it so the variance is set at 2 meters to ensure that that's what the minor variance is there to support. So essentially, it's just ensuring that we are acknowledging that they can go to that 8 meter side yard setback or that 2 meter reduction, but no further than that. So essentially, it's just identifying that development envelope. And then if they do exceed that, it would render the decision of the committee null and void.
So I'm just going to ask a further follow-up question.
For sure.
If the nature of the build changes in dimension and size, but maintains an 8 meter setback, but it's outside that building envelope on the sketch, does that mean the minor variance becomes null and void, but they still maintain the 2 meters? I'm just wondering if we're giving them a 2 meter minor variance,
yep,
need to establish a building envelope on top of it.
Essentially, through the implementation of the conditions, it's good procedure just to ensure that we are aligning with the committee's approval of that 2 meter reduction and ensuring that it does not encroach any further into the side yard. I hope that answers your question. If not, I can also defer to Michael, who might be able to help out on this one.
Yeah, my concern is for the applicant when they go to get the final design of the build addition they're going to have. If the 2 meters, that reduction is maintained, do they have to stay within that building envelope that we're attaching to the decision, or could it be outside of that building envelope provided they're still 8 meters from the side yard?
And I can take that. Yeah, I would agree with you, Chair Glenn, that providing we're giving that reduction in that side yard, whether if they're outside of the building envelope and still meeting all of that, the yard requirements, including that reduction in the side yard, I think we'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I just don't know that condition 1 is really necessary if it's really just to maintain that we're reducing the side yard to 8 meters.
Mhm.
And because, as we all know, you get a builder in and the plans all of a sudden change, but provided that the side yard stays the same, we're not really concerned about how big the building envelope is. Or are we?
Personally, I don't think we would be. Ben might have some other additional information that's kind of swayed him towards that first condition, but
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
Thank you, and thank you through the chair. So essentially, just from working with other municipalities, typically it's good procedure to ensure that the extent of the variance is illustrated as attached on the sketch attached to the notice of decision to ensure that that is the set reduction that's permitted by the committee today. If it was to deviate further into the rear yard, we would have no concerns. It's just saying that it goes no further than that 8 meters or they would have to come back for a variance, which would
Okay.
render that decision null and void.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Are there any points raised by the planner or the applicant that the committee wishes to respond to? If there's no further discussion, I'll now call the vote on the motion as presented. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. This public hearing is now adjourned at 5:47. Moving number 7, unfinished business. We have none. The next regular meeting of the committee, next committee adjustment is on April 21st at 5 o'clock. If there's no further business, I will now call for an adjournment to this meeting and ask for a mover and the seconder. Moved by Member Ladresse, seconded by Mayor Carlton. Any discussion? All those in favor of adjournment?